it's so disjointed, their messaging. And that's why they have no good PR on their side, because even from the media perspective, it is so confusing to understand where they stand on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, because the target moves. All right? Like,
it's gaslighting is what it is. It's gaslighting the community.
We say.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays. From game analysis to player interviews, we've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And I am Evan Closky. It's your boy, once again. And next to the potato man over here.
Oh, I'm showing the potato?
It's potato.
Hey, look at this potato guy.
Oh, that is very unfortunate.
No, people are having fun with the potato comments, by the way. People are having a heck of a time with the potato comments on the YouTubes, and I'm sure that this episode will have a couple more.
Well, you just need to readjust the bunny ears. The bunny ears are off. You need to move it left, a little bit right.
Hold it.
Yeah.
I'm working from Windows 5 over here.
Yeah.
All right. Good start. Ulises, before we dive into the content, do we need to let the audience know something or two?
Yes, we do. This episode is brought to you by all of you who hit the like button and who hit the subscribe button and who leave a comment and who are engaging in the Locked On Rays community. We want to say thank you to every single one of you. Thank you for always hitting those buttons and commenting. We appreciate it, and Kevin appreciates it. And guess what? Evan Closky appreciates it too. Gosh darn it.
I do.
Yeah. All right. Man, this stadium talk, it's getting feisty. Getting feisty between Rays presidents and county commissioners and city council members. Evan, what is your big picture take on what's going on here?
No, I want to also say this. Nothing has really changed. It's just people are talking, right?
Let's start with the mad comments. What did you make of the mad comments on that were shown on the radio first?
It's a bit concerning that the Rays continually have to lean into one talking point that some. I know Commissioner Chris Ladvala says 21-day delay. I think it was 40-something days. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's working off he might be working off the second, from the time that they passed it to the second delay, but maybe skipping over the first one because maybe things were so up in the air that first time around, or maybe he's just counting for the fact post-election versus pre-election when there was a pro. Rays Pinellas County Commission in there. But the more interesting part of really the Matt Silverman, Brian Auld conversation, that half of it seems like it was read off a piece of paper, was that they actually took really their first shot at the city. So it was a lot of this banter has been mostly a blame of the Pinellas County Commission, which again was part of the tenor. But then saying that the city of St. Pete is doing the bare minimum and that us at the Rays don't do the bare minimum. We don't believe in that, whatever, I don't want to say it's a word for word quote, but that's sort of what was said. You'll have to, I posted it. You can go listen to it. Rays Radio also has it as well. But that was a bit concerning because that was really the first shot we've seen at the city. And it just seems like they're ready to, throw fire to every bridge leading to St. Pete. And so that's one thing. I do find it funny though. And this is me being completely objective because there are they don't want to admit that the Tropicana field, the roof flying off was probably the start of the end. That was the oh crap moment, right? I don't know if maybe they don't want to go that route because that is probably directly blaming the hurricane for what's been happening. but we haven't gotten any sort of itemized detailings of why they lost so much money in that short span. And then you got to remember, Brian Auld went in front of the city after they approved of funding of $20-something million to start repairs on the Trop to get it ready for 2026, to where Brian Auld went in front of them and said, essentially, well, first he went to the media and said, this was, again, not word for word, I'm kind of paraphrasing.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're spending this money. We're not like, it would be better for us if they don't spend this money so that we can look elsewhere for a home, because now we have to do parallel planning and we don't want to do that. So he went up in front of the St. Pete. He went up in front of, one of the council members, said, "What did you just tell the media?" And he was like, "Well, I'll tell you what I said. I don't think you should be spending that kind of money. We don't think you're going to make it to 2026."
After the vote had been cast.
After the vote, they said $20-something million. Let's get this process started.
Right.
And Brian Auld said the most optimistic projections would maybe get us to start opening day, and we don't want to do that. So don't do that. To where the city council then voted to revote, to then rescind the vote that they passed. And then going back to his comments about doing the bare minimum, why do you think they're doing the bare minimum, Brian? Matt, why do you think they're doing that? Was it maybe because you have waffled? Like, it's silly. It's silliness. It's pure silliness. And enough of us have been in this cycle of things to understand that we're not going to just run away with what you say as a truth. It just is not. Like, it is a farce to think that you can run that sort of idea that they're taking the bare minimum when you set that chain in motion. That's your fault. And it's because Major League Baseball got in your ear and said, we don't give a crap if you don't want to do it. We're telling you you're going to do it. And that's why that's probably why they reverse course, because they completely 180'd. But they just in this process, they just have this vanishing memory. Like, they do things and then they just act like it never happened. Like, oh, we're here now and we're asking for this. So why do we bring up the past? Yet they always bring up the past. I've been hearing about the delay since the start. It's just a lot of it's so disjointed, their messaging. And that's why they have no good PR on their side, because even from the media perspective, it is so confusing to understand where they stand on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, because the target moves. All right?
It's gaslighting is what it is. It's gaslighting the community.
We say, oh, you don't spend $150 million for us, which they still haven't described why that came about. I can probably put together some funds for it, but 150, I would guarantee you 150 is a gross exaggeration of what it was. I'm assuming that it was probably around 100 to 120, but regardless, they haven't given us anybody a detailed itemization of what that happened. They didn't give the county a detailed itemization of reaching the 50 million that they spent. When you live in the shadows and you don't want to show your deck of cards, then narratives are going to be said about you and doubts are going to be cast. So you can't control all the narratives and just say, trust us. You can't do that. You don't have the emotional equity in the community or with anybody to prove that you get the trust us. And that's my point. The Rays with the roof flying off, that was terrible, right? Moving to Steinbrenner, as awesome of an experience that's going to be, it's a loss of money. They got to pay the Yankees. They don't have as many concessions. It's less seats, significantly less seats. And you're averaging more than 5,000 less fans in Steinbrenner than what you averaged last year. So, less parking. It's brutal on the spreadsheets, not only for what you were going to make this year, but next year. So it's a 2-year gap on what you were bringing in. So they're in trouble there, legitimately in trouble. That sucked for them, 1,000%. And the roof, they probably have some sort of argument that the roof wasn't up to date, when it flew off, which is a liability of the city. So that's part of their leveraging. And again, I still want to see the reports on it and stuff, but for the most part, that probably is legitimate, that the roof had not been properly taken care of. So that's probably something they're flinging in their way with, with lawyers and trying to figure out a compromise on how to get this money across. But if it was over just $150 million, then like I just have a tough time believing that that would be the hang up. I just don't believe that. So, and then again, I keep going back to the fact that you signed up for cost overruns. So it doesn't matter if, you didn't write in there an act of God happening would not, we wouldn't pay if an act of God happened to the stadium. You didn't put in there about how this needed to be decided, before the election. There were just a lot of things that I just don't, I am super objective here, right? I really, I try to see both sides. And I told you the things that I'm on the Rays side for. And it sucked because when they delayed the vote, they had to tell the Heinz staff, they can't move them down here if they don't have the knowledge that the bonds thing is going into full force. So I get that. You can't really start the process, and that screws you over, and people go on to different projects, and now you're up in the air. But if a 45-day delay or whatever it was, and $150 million was really like the end all be all, and like you can't move forward because of that, then I do really question a lot of things with them. They say they have the money, they say they have the financing, then it just comes down to you don't want the deal anymore. So just stop throwing 90 different darts and just tell us what it is.
We're all
dancing around it.
We're all questioning it. And today, actually, some good comments came out from Chris Ledvala that we were going to share with all of you that you have shared, Evan, on your platform. But first, Kevin, I think we need. I'm kind of getting a little bit hungry, honestly, Kev. So if you have something for me, that'd be great.
I do. That would be wonderful pistachios.
Nice. Oh, yeah. Shake them.
Love that sound. If you're looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. There we go, right there. If you're watching on the YouTubes, wonderful pistachios.
Yeah, nobody could see it.
It's heavily pixelated, unfortunately. Do you see the green at least? Do you see the green packaging?
We see the green, and we certainly know the pistachios are wonderful. As far as the details are concerned, we leave that up to the imagination.
Okay, then I'll just I won't show it on the screen. I'll just shake it in my microphone. As I was saying, wonderful pistachios, it is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. So what are you waiting for? Get snacking and get crackin'. Say that 5 times fast. With the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Okay, that was great. First, let's share the comments from Chris Litvala right now.
Before they need to show that. They need to show that to the media in Tampa Bay. I'm sure the media will be more than happy to see that. They need to show that on paper. The only time that we've asked them to show something on paper was when they said that they spent $50 million, and what they showed us was that they spent $11 million. They are literally lying to our residents. And I welcome them to come to a meeting and show us that they have a $150 million shortfall that was the cause of a 21-day delay.
That was only 32 seconds of what was around 10 minutes, I think. It
was a little north of 5 minutes.
A little 5 minutes. Okay. So that was just a little bit of a taste of that. When you
Can
heard
I ask
that
this first, Evan, how did you know to roll at that moment?
Oh, I didn't know to roll at that moment. The public meetings are all available on YouTube. So I heard about the meeting, saw that Commissioner Ladvala had said something about the matter, and then was able to go back and record it.
I was going to say that is real dedication. If you're
that's just being
as much as I, as a Pinellas County resident, as much as I do want to do my civic duties, I am here in the sports department and not the news department, and I don't have the time to sit through the entire 3-hour meeting.
But Evan knows some people that know some people, so that's the whole thing. When you heard this, Evan, though, what were your reactions?
I mean, it's just look. It's if you have seen Latvala on social media, if you've listened to Latvala since day one, remember he was a very much in the minority of wanting the stadium when it was passed with a pro-Rays commission, right? I mean, it was him and someone else, and Dave Eggers, and essentially everybody else was yes. And then the election happened, and that tossed up some votes. That's why we go back to the original kind of commissioners meeting when all but one person voted to delay. It was pretty bipartisan in all of that. But nothing to really say that things have changed. We know that Latvala does not like Stu, Brian, Matt, Brian, Stu do not like Latvala. They haven't since day one, both sides. So it's I think it's always noteworthy when a commissioner is going to go out and kind of say the stuff that he's been saying publicly on the record. Yeah. So that's worthy of listening to. But I wouldn't say that this has changed anything, right? Tomorrow, Stu, Brian, Matt, they can all say, we want this deal in St. Pete, and we can start moving forward, right? And the commissioners, something that Latvala approved, would be giving money to the Rays. So, do I foresee that happening? Not necessarily. It seems like bridges have been burned. But I'm just saying that that statement did not send like a shot across the bow. It's just status quo. Things haven't gotten better. And
but it's not like status quo. Like, it does seem like, I mean, the mudslinging has been there, but it seems like the last two times it's been more pronounced. These last Matt Silverman comments and then this reply by Latvala, it does sound like if it's mudslinging, which I think it is, maybe it's at a harder speed. The exit velo on the mud is going a little bit faster, right?
Well, I mean, it depends, because what Matt and Brian did, because remember, things were dormant. And then Matt and Brian wanted to create headlines with what they said. They actively went on the Rays-sponsored radio show, which I believe they're always the first kind of, they have Neander, Cash, and then, I definitely know that. I mean, Brian and Matt have 1,000% been on there in the past, and I'm sure we're going to hear from Stu, because Stu has done it in the past. So,
Stu, what is your favorite Bruce Springsteen song?
Yeah, that's the Topkin interview. But the thing is, it's a Ray sponsored deal. If they didn't want to touch on it, they didn't have to. But they did tackle it head on. And in their eyes, I'm sure they believed they were, being as transparent with the fan base as possible. It's just, I mean, you see it throughout the weekend, though, right? They had those comments. Then they go out, and then Topkin has those quotes that says, well, look, we're going to be here. We're going to figure it out. We're staying in Tampa. We got the money. I'll say this. Between Stu, Brian, Matt, there has been a concerted effort to tell everybody they have the financing. They have the money. Now, I don't know if that's because so many people are saying, I don't know if you got that money. I don't know if you got it. And they want to just say, we hear you and we're telling you we got it, right? They could be saying that, or it could be just a front. We don't know. And I'm not going to tell you one side or the other what it's going to be. But that has been part of the new messaging from them as part of just whatever gobbledygook we've been getting. So I do agree that the Matt Bryan shot to the city was a new wrinkle. That was a new something that obviously signals whatever those conversations are going on between the Rays and the city, they're not going well. We saw Mayor Welch give his state, of the city press conference, whatever you want to call it. And he pretty much kind of shrugged his shoulders and said, we got to be on the table. We're not giving them any more money. It is what it is, right? But he also signaled and made it known out there that we will, if this deal falls through, we will wait it out and figure out what to do with the land when the Rays lease is up at the Trop, so that we do not share any money with them, and they go off into the sunset, and then we can, as a city, figure out what's best for us. And so he signaled to all them saying, hey, you know, like, I'm prepared to wait you out, which is half a threat. He's got to be elected again to really follow through on that, or else he's out, and then somebody else comes in and they can do whatever they want. So
do either of you two know when the election would be?
I believe it's up next year, isn't it? I think it's next. I think it's next year.
Okay.
Don't off the top of my head, it is soon. I
Right.
think it's 2026 though.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I mean, just if
Don't
you're
quote.
out,
Don't quote.
yeah, if you're out there and you're saying, Evan, you're wrong, I might be like, you're totally right.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You know, if they say that, then that's okay. But they can't say that we're wrong about FanDuel, people, because when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'll say that again. Go to FanDuel.com to join today, because you'll get $150 if your first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Kev?
So
Can't confirm
Evan.
2026.
Okay, thank you.
yes. So are you leaning towards the idea that the Rays are not going to fulfill the obligations on March 31st or by March 31st? And
At this moment on February 20th,
Mhm.
I do not believe the Rays will follow through with the St. Pete deal, but I still believe that the Rays have something working in the shadows, whether that's a sale or whether that's moving over to Tampa and finding some more funding over there. But just because that doesn't happen, I still think it's a really tall task to move the team out of the area. I think that would be. I don't know why Major League Baseball would be cool with an owner that got $600 million
Plus.
which is probably equates to really more like $1 billion in public funding. Turn that down, and then cycle through this whole process again, leaving the expansion stuff up in the air. Like, I don't know why the other 29 owners wouldn't give Stu and company the proverbial middle finger and just hold him hostage to the fact that you can't look outside of this city until we tell you. So good luck. So there's some of that in the background that is being worked out. And then we can figure all that stuff out. But it's been really tough to think with. I mean, look, they can spill all the blood. It's not anything that we've never seen before, and then take pictures with shovels in your hand. But at this point, it seems pretty grim.
hey, I'll just say this. Let me just add, as much of a mess that this is, those aren't the two worst options. The fact that Stu has to or will sell the team and or the Rays move to Tampa. I think that it is important to keep your part of the original agreement and ultimately build in St. Petersburg, even though it's a mess of a drive for many in the Tampa Bay area. But hey, if the Rays wind up continuing to play in Tampa Bay, that's something at least.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit confused. I didn't mention this, but Matt Silverman said, "Hey, we got like 4 years to figure this out."
Yeah. Okay.
In what world do you have 4 years to figure this out? The whole reason why, we need the stadium built in January started. Why 2024 was such an important deadline for the Rays, because they needed a ballpark built for when the lease ended.
Right.
So how do you have 4 years left? In what world do you have 4 years left? Like, the clock has been ticking. You have to know where you're going. You can't just finish the season out in 2029 or whenever the lease went out and pushing back seasons and say, oh,
What do we do now?
Yeah,
he's expecting a hurricane every year, and then that further delays the or
Perhaps.
makes them sign up for another year with the Trop. I don't know.
Boys, it's time to wrap it up. Evan, thank you so much for your time. How can race fans find your amazing work?
Head to @Closky, WTSP. Hit me up on Twitter. I'll respond to 99.9% of your questions. Just don't be a jerk. But 10tampabay.com, 10 Tampa Bay Plus. You can find us on YouTube as well. Your smart TV, all that. And, we got finally some games to talk about here with spring training beginning. I'm excited for baseball season again. I'm excited to talk about baseball again. So we'll be doing that. The Lightning will start trickling forward towards their playoff run here before you know it. And away we go, and free agent sign with the Bucks in March, Valspar is in March, Grand Prix is happening soon. So we got a lot of stuff cooking. Just make sure you check in with us.
Well said. That'll do it for us. We will talk to you on Friday.